As I'm sure you all know by now, Leeds United lost this weekend 3-0 to Brighton, and it wasn't fantastic. A lot of people went into this game going, well, Brighton are a good side, so losing to them isn't too bad. But Leeds got a little bit embarrassed by them in this match. So I thought I'd take a little bit of a deep dive, look at the causes for each of the goals, how Leeds United can look to address this going forwards into the future, because it kind of needs to be addressed. And in addition to that, ultimately what we need to do going forwards as well as the defensive side of the game, because there's a lot of concerns to be addressed on both ends of the pitch, and I'm sure they will be this week throughout training. But I think it's worth discussing as a fan base as well. So I'm going to start by going through their goals, and this is the first one that Brighton managed to score. And at the moment, you're thinking this isn't too much of a dangerous situation. You might have to follow my cursor here. It's about here, but I'm sure you can just follow it. With their winger hanging out over here, taking on Goodmanson. That's fine, that's not too much of an issue, but the bit that I'd like to note at this point is have a look at the far post. Have a look at how their players are stacked up against Jaden Bogle, a little bit on Joe Rodon as well, but they have a lot of weight towards that back post, including this lad over here. So they've got four players attacking this far post. Yes, Ruter's here. Yes, the fullback is here. Yes, you've got your Cuba Minte over here, but that's not exactly the threat right now. The threat is where the goal comes from, which is this far post area here. Skip forward a little bit in the play. And the ball has moved forward. It's coming in behind here, which means that Perry has to go to the near post. If Perry doesn't go to the near post, he's not closed down his man effectively, but still, you've got these players hanging out at the far post. At the moment, Beal is marking space. Beal isn't marking anyone at the moment, and sure, I guess, in the event that there is one of the runners from the far post coming into the near post, he's of use at that point. But the fact of the matter is, he doesn't really do a ton where he is at the minute because he's just sort of covering nothing. Skip forward another step, and this is the moment of the cross, and Beal is still covering effectively nothing. And these three far post players have managed to get into a decent amount of space, including Welbeck. Welbeck, who from this point Rodon hasn't picked up in the slightest. Rodon knows that there's a bunch of players here, but he doesn't necessarily know who's his because there's this big stack of opponents, and it's sort of like pick whoever runs nearby. But by the time they're running nearby, it's too late. The ball is squared, and Welbeck has all the time and space in the world. In addition to that, this lad back here would also be able to finish the chance off anyway because there's no one marking him either. That first goal screams playing zonally against a side that really demanded that you needed to play against them man for man. The fact that we left them that much space at the far post ultimately invited our own problems and is a thing that we will definitely need to deal with against a side like Nottingham Forest, because these sort of crossing situations are what Deitch is quite good at. So if we can limit Deitch doing Deitch things, that'd be lovely. Then we're on to goal 2. They've got the ball up here again, victimising Goodmanson a little bit, but I completely understand it because it worked for them the first time. And at this point, you're thinking, okay, cool. So we've got 4 players back in the space that they've got 2. 5 if you want to include these 2 up here, including Gomez, I think this guy is. But it's Minte, it's Ruter, and it's Gomez against 5 defensive players. You think we should probably be fine. Someone you want to pay attention to here is here, Jakob, right? Skip forward a bit. Minte's taken on Gabby Goodmanson. This is where Beale's got to. And this is where Beale's man's got to. He's just been outstripped at this point. He's gone from a good few yards ahead to sort of ball watching, to thinking, ooh, if the ball comes in, I might get my foot to that, rather than who's the actual threat here. Because from here, Minte is not finishing this chance at all. The best he can do is put the ball in the box. But it feels like what Beal is doing is not being aware of who the players in the box are, including the man that he was closest to a couple of minutes ago. Then the ball comes in. His man's just run past him, in which time Beal's moved, a couple of yards? Whereas this guy's gone effectively the length of the 6-yard box for a tap-in. Again, I'm not going to blame Lucas Perry for this one because he's got to close down that cross. He's not responsible for picking up the man, and the fact that this ends in a goal is, for me, probably on Jakob. But again, it's somewhat lazy defending. It's not being back in the shape where we need to be to limit the threat. Then we get to the third goal. Also, this is just another quick note of, look where Beal is compared to the man that he was closest to in the first shot. I feel like the issue that we had with Pascal Struijk getting caught high up the pitch isn't a Struijk issue, it's a left centre-back issue, which I don't know how we necessarily deal with. We know that Biel isn't the paciest, but it's a little bit tricky. Then we get on to the last one. Bogle's cocked up, and the ball's ended up with Jorginho Rutter, which means that at the moment we're in a very, very, very weird shape, because we've got Rodon here, which not really where you want Joe Rodon, to be honest with you. Outside your right back, who is here, and you got Jakob Biel here. Gudmundsson, I'm assuming, is just up here somewhere, just waiting for a switch or something. So Rutter manages to get to the byline, and again we've done the thing where, sure, Gudmundsson's gotten in, Biel's over here, Rodon still wider than Bogle, which feels like that's probably something that he should have worked a little bit better at. But look over here. Look how much room. He's got 10-yard radius around him without any threat. And the ball ends up with him, and it's an easy finish into an open goal. For me, all of these are demonstrations of the fact that defensively we were just not good enough in the match against Brighton. We just didn't have enough shape, we didn't have enough energy, we didn't have enough effort to beat Brighton, and we didn't deserve to beat them, and that's just the defensive side of the game. When it comes to the attacking side of the game, we've got entirely different issues, because I've done a little bit of maths here, where I went through every single player on SofaScore and I counted the amount of times that they lost possession in that match. And in total, in that 90 minutes of football, we lost possession 120 times. Which contributes to the fact that in the first half, a lot of people thought that it felt very, very sloppy, because it was. So some examples of the amount of times that players lost possession. Bogle lost it 11 times in 77 minutes, Gudmundsson 16 times in the full 90. Okafor also played 77 minutes, lost it 19 times. Aronson 11, Perry 11, but sort of Perry's like banging it long every time, so that's sort of the responsibility of Calvert-Lewin, I guess, but even then, it's not brilliant. When it comes to the subs that came on as well, Stack had half an hour of football and he managed to lose it 5 times. James 4 times in half an hour. Longstaff 8, which is not great in 60 minutes. It sort of shows that his passing was incredibly loose in the first half, and it sort of contributes to the idea that I had about the defensive play, which was it felt quite lazy. It felt like if we're just more switched on and we're preventing these mistakes and we're actually putting the energy in, then maybe we might get something out of these games. But we're not going to do that if we don't actively earn it, and that, I think, is the biggest problem that we had in the match against Brighton. We also had a couple more little fun facts for you. I say fun, not that fun. We had 2 shots on target in that entire game, which isn't quite what you need. Said 2 shots being from the exact same situation where the ball is firstly fired at their goalkeeper and then Stack at the far post. Genuinely not a bad shot. I think it was a post-shot XG of 0.6 something, which says that more often than not a keeper shouldn't be saving it, but Verbruggen is quite a good goalkeeper, so I'm not going to be too mad about that. However, the fact that we only had those 2 shots on target is damning. In total, we had, I think, 5 shots, maybe, which is not enough, because we entered the final third 35 times. 5 shots from that, 1 in 7 were getting a shot off, which is, again, not really good enough. Compare that to Brighton, entered the final third 50 times, which is more than us, sure, but they had 14 shots. They had 3 times as many shots as we did, from 15 more entries into our final third, which is just sort of showing that we lacked that sort of oomph. We didn't have the energy or the creativity or sort of the attacking nous to do anything against Brighton in this match, and that's sort of what we're going to need. Like, you don't, and this is a phrase that I don't hugely enjoy from the world of football, but you don't win the lottery if you don't get a ticket. And the fact of the matter is, we were just sort of assuming that something will work out at some point for us, I'm sure. When it's not, if you only take 5 shots in a game of football and your 2 shots on target come after the 80th minute. We need to be a little bit more daring, and if you ask me, this sort of indicated the need for signings a little bit more. So Aronson moves inside to the 10, all of a sudden, we have that mistake from Jaden Bogle, and Dan James isn't really around him to help out, so I think we missed the sort of defensive side of it. But at the same time, as I think was mentioned by Daniel Farker in the post-match presser, moving Aronson inside doesn't really work, because you don't have the physicality that you need from a 10, plus he's not really got that creative eye to him. I think the wing is probably where Brendan Aronson belongs at the minute, but then you still don't have that much creativity out of him, which sucks a bit, because when you're playing Aronson out on the wing, your understanding with that is he's doing the more defensive side of the game, the rest of your players do the contribution to the creative stuff to account for that. And we didn't get that this time. And for me, it shows that we're going to need something doing in January. I think we need a 10, I think we need a right winger, just to make sure that when we do get into the final third, we've got someone that's got the balls to do something with it. Because if we don't have that, we are in genuine danger. And I would like us to avoid that situation, please. Because otherwise, things are going to be not fun for the rest of the season. Anyway, those were just my thoughts. I hope that we see a little bit better from the match against Nottingham Forest. I hope that we've learned the lessons that we need to learn from that. But we'll have to find out, including in Daniel Farker's presser on Thursday, I think. I think the match is on Saturday. I don't know. We'll find out. Anyway, hopefully we do better in the future. We'll see. But I'm going to leave that video there. Hope you enjoyed. If you did, please pop a like on it, subscribe, comment your thoughts on the match down below. That'd be massively appreciated. Sorry it's a fairly late video over the last couple of days. I've done just like 8+ hour days, so it's quite hard to get time to do content stuff. I'm going to try and do things a little bit more often, but we'll get there. Anyway, hope you all enjoyed, and I will see you later. Please let's win against Forest. Please, 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 please.